What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into the Griffin Station podcast. My name is That Guy Barai. You might know me from my YouTube channel. Sauce God, this is for you. We're bringing back the podcast. Some guy commented on my YouTube video and was like, dude, when is the podcast coming back? I'm like,
that's
don't
nice.
worry, we're working on it.
Yeah.
So we're back. I'm joined with my friend Tim.
Hello, I'm Tim.
This week we're just going to be talking about Dark Souls.
I love it.
It's a weird COD podcast talking about Dark Souls, but there's nothing really to talk about with Cold War. You'll either hear the Season 2 review before or after this, depending if me and Matt can meet to talk about it this weekend. So, see how that goes. So, yeah, we're gonna try out a new thing. It's called Yay or Nay. We're just gonna do a review of the game, and at the end, we're just gonna say if it's good or if it's bad. No 1 to 10 numbers, because that really doesn't make sense. You know, you watch an IGN review, and they'll give fucking like a really good game an 8 out of 10, and then here comes Call of Duty and they're like 9 out of 10, even though in their reviews they're like, nothing's really original in this game, same as last year, but
9 out of
slap
10.
it, slap
Yeah.
a 9 on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tim, what would you like to say about Dark Souls?
All
Should we
right.
just go through the game, talk about what we like about it?
So yeah, I'll start this off with a little disclaimer. My first Dark Souls game was in fact Dark Souls 3. So I was not a fan from the very beginning. Brighton was actually the one who got me into Dark Souls at all. So
Actually,
this-
our friend Hunter both got us, because
yeah,
I
right.
tried Dark Souls 1 whenever it was free to play with Xbox Live Gold on the 360, and I made it to Anne Orlando, and there's this part in Anne Orlando where you have to go above these rafters, and there's these guys that throw throwing knives at you, and it did take me a month to get to this part, and I could not get past it, so I gave it up. And then 2 years later, Hunter was telling me about Dark Souls 3, and I was like, I don't know, man. But he eventually got me to get it, and then me and him beat it, and then we've convinced Tim to get it. So here we are. We'll probably do a Dark Souls 3 review also, because that one's also an amazing game.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, I just wanted to preface that, make sure everybody knew I did in fact start in Dark Souls 3. But I will say that all of the Dark Souls have been pretty excellent. I lucked out. I mean, obviously there was a skill curve, but both Brighton and Hunter were there to carry me for my first time through both games. So
honestly, I'm just gonna say it now. If you're scared to get into Dark Souls, find a friend you have who's played it before. Play through the game with them, so that way it's a little bit more manageable. Then play it through on your own, which is what me and Tim both did. Because the first time Hunter helped me through, and I was like, you know what, I want to try this on my own, and I had a lot of fun. And now I replay it all the fucking time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The tutorial boss, obviously you have to fight it alone, so it gives you a little bit of chance to, really get some of the mechanics. In Dark Souls, your first boss is in the asylum, teaches you the basics of a plunge attack, and then obviously, you got to beat it to progress, and then after that, if you have a friend that helps you, the bosses are still made in a way where even if you're going through with somebody who's way over leveled for the area, you're still making adaptations throughout the fights, and by the end of it you'll be set up to definitely try on your own, which once you get a full playthrough on your own, I think that's whenever you can really make a decision about the game.
Yeah. Which for me, my first time, I could not even imagine trying to beat 4 kings on my own, because that boss in itself, the amount of damage you have to put out. But I tried some things, I'll go in with heavy armor and just not even try to roll through attacks, and I'll just tank it like that.
Yeah.
It's all about just trying
that's
different ways.
Because that's just something you got to learn by playing, because if you don't ever do that, none of the other bosses are really so poise requiring.
I guess we should probably go through the game linear instead of skipping.
Yeah, all right.
Instead of skipping to the
That
second to
probably makes
last
sense.
boss, which I guess in this game it's so open that our first, well, besides the Asylum Demon, which you have to beat, like, your first boss could range out of just a shit ton of bosses. Like, your first boss could be the Taurus Demon, the Capra Demon, Quelaag.
You could go straight
Gargoyles.
The catacombs, couldn't you? You could go.
Yeah, your first boss could be
Yeah.
Pinwheel if you wanted. Like, the reason I love this game so much is just the second you get out of the asylum, if you bring the Master Key, which I don't know why you wouldn't, it's just there's so many paths to take.
I've got to say that was one of my favorite parts about the game too. There's obviously like a recommended way, and what I mean by recommended is that certain areas are going to be really hard, you know, for a lower level character, but you can still go through them.
Yeah, like my friend Josh, I don't know if he hasn't been on the podcast, I don't know if he's been on the YouTube channel, but he was asking me, like, he tried it one time I was watching him, he's like, so where do I go? And I'm like, mostly the way you figure out where to go is if you, like, go towards the graveyard and you run into skeletons and you're doing shit damage to them, you're probably like, I should not be here. You go down the elevator below Firelink, you run into some ghosts that you can't attack, you're like, I shouldn't be here.
Yep.
Then you go up in the Valley of Drakes if you have the Master Key and you fight some, like, Drakes and you're doing shit damage to them, you're like, I shouldn't be here. And then you finally find a path up a cliff where you're, like, two-hitting people and you're like, this is probably where I'm supposed to go.
Now, it doesn't go the other way. If you go to an area and the enemies are just, like, kicking your ass, you're probably in the right spot.
Yeah. It's not saying that they're easy. It's just if you're doing pretty good damage to them,
your damage is definitely a better indicator of where you're at and where you should be.
So the recommended first boss would be Taurus, but sometimes I'll hop in the game. I'll go fight Moonlight Butterfly first just to get some extra souls.
That's what I did, and I started playthrough probably just the other week. I mean, I hadn't been playing it too much, but I started a playthrough and I was just doing, like, you know, the typical quality strength dex build, and the first one I went and fought was Moonlight Butterfly, just because as long as you can dodge all of the bullshit attacks, like, it's a really easy fight. It just takes forever.
Yeah, and so, like, that's part of the reason that this game is so good to me is just the open world. It's one of the more restrictive open worlds, but not in a bad way. I remember I was watching a video, and there's this Hydra, and he was fighting this Hydra, and he couldn't beat it. So he's just like, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to see what this key does. So he runs all the way back through, like, it takes him like an hour to get there, and he gets to this tower, and there's this guy in the bottom of the tower, and he fights him. He's like, finally, I can see what's behind this door. He opens the door, and he's right back at the Hydra.
It's the Hydra, yeah.
Just because the game world is just so, like, interconnected. Like, everybody who's played Dark Souls always talks about there's this one elevator that takes you back to the very beginning of the game, and I think your first time, if you go in blind and you go down the elevator, you're like, holy shit. I remember I did that back whenever it was free. I was just like, I saw that elevator, I'm like, fuck, and I ran down it, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yep. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's got to be one of my favorite parts about the game, because it really opens the door for a lot of replayability, which is a pretty big thing for me. Like, I think it's cool that you can go through and play the game, you know, 6 different playthroughs and not take the same path from the beginning. Not just, like, changing up boss order, but changing up the first boss you fight.
Yeah, the amount of... which I've never fought gargoyles as my first boss because I would do crap damage, but, I mean, if that's what if you want to beat the game as little bosses as possible...
That's the first one.
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you take the back door to Quelaag, you can skip, like, 5 bosses right there if you just do those 2.
Yeah, and I mean, the game itself, I feel like the difficulty on just about every area and every boss is really well balanced. Like, I don't think there's, other than Blight Town, but I don't think that there's many areas that I just find myself dreading going to.
I usually skip the depths because I hate it.
Yeah.
And you can skip the depths.
Yep.
And the only thing down there you need is the large ember, and thank God it's, like, right at the beginning because, like,
That's down to Gaping Dragon, right?
Yeah, the amount of playthroughs I've done and the amount of times I fought Gaping Dragon, I honestly want to say most of my playthroughs Gaping Dragon was like the last boss I fought because I'm like, oh yeah, he's down there.
Yeah, yeah. Before I started this most recent playthrough, I started one like 3 months ago. I was in the middle of school, so I wasn't super focused on it or nothing. But I started and I completely forgot the path to anything, and so I ended up going to the depths with a +1 like starting weapon and fighting the Gaping Dragon. That was the most frustrating thing I've done in so long. I mean, because I just honestly, I thought that was just like the only boss that you could fight at the time. I had been playing Dark Souls 3 and it's a lot more linear, so.
Dark Souls 3 is very linear, but we'll get to that in the 3 episode, but.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I love this game is just the open-ended, plus just builds.
Yeah.
Which I just started my first time in, like, 7 years now I've been playing Dark Souls 1, and first time I'm doing a sorcery build. I usually either do dex or strength. I mean, our friend Hunter, he makes fun of me because I usually end up just with the biggest sword you can have in the game, and I just like to one-shot everything, because that's just the type of character I play. Like,
yep.
me and him just played the Demon Souls remake, and I get the Dragon Bone Smasher and just one-hit everything.
Yep.
So...
Yeah, builds are a huge thing for me. Like I said, replayability is one of the most important things that a game can have, in my opinion. And making it to where, I mean, you can be a sorcerer, you can be a strength intelligence build, I mean, you can be a dex intelligence, strength faith, dex faith. The amount of playthroughs that you can do, all using different weapons, different items, leveling up different stats. I mean, that's the best part, in my opinion.
I've never ran into a game with that much replayability.
Exactly.
Besides, the Dark Souls series.
Yeah, I mean, me and Brighton, we've probably been playing it for every single year for the past 3 years.
We'll have usually close to summer, we get a kick where we'll play all the games multiple times, and then
we'll just go through for probably how long do they last? A month, 2 months?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll just play them nonstop. I mean, I got the latest COD season pass, and I'm literally level 2 because I played 3 games, and then I was like, man. You know what I haven't played in a long time?
Dark Souls. Yeah, I bought Ghost of Tsushima, and then Hunter finally got a PS5, so I played through Demon Souls with him. And then I was just sitting there, I'm like, I saw Dark Souls on sale, and me and him both bought the entire trilogy, and then Tim bought the trilogy again, and
every year
we've been playing it again.
It's the only game that I come back to every single year. They're the only games that I can come back to and enjoy it just as much every time.
Because I play it so differently.
Yep.
And then plus, I think what helps is sure, the in-between might get old, but the boss fights never get old.
Exactly.
The boss fights are so perfect, and I still feel so accomplished.
Especially when you go out of your way. Dark Souls is one of those games that does not shove its lore in your face by any means. So if you want to know about the lore, you definitely have to go out of your way for it. But once you start to learn that lore, and once you start to understand it, the boss fights just become that much better. I mean, the boss fights, especially in Dark Souls, in the original Dark Souls, man, the lore is just,
There's one boss, Artorias, that just, oh man, he's just a good boss in general, but when you learn the story...
I will hardcore fanboy over Artorias.
The man never even speaks.
No, not a word. Oh man, I remember going through and fighting him for the first time, and I just thought the boss fight was cool. I mean, because like I said, Brighton and Hunter carried me through my entire first playthrough. So I'm going in there under-leveled. And I've got Brighton and Hunter who are severely over-leveled like Brighton said, he was typically a strength build, so he was going around and, I mean, Artorias was dead in probably a minute and a half, right?
Yeah.
Maybe less. So,
Well, you get 3 people. The thing in this game is, like, the bosses are very hard by themselves, but you bring in, like, one other person, they're still very difficult, but you can trick the AI, and they just don't know how to handle multiple people sometimes. Like, there are bosses that can...
Yeah, because they always
fuck you
focus.
up.
They always focus on one person. So if you just switch off the aggro, you can heal and heal and heal.
Yeah.
But so I had Brighton and Hunter done in a minute and a half. I still thought the boss fight was awesome. I mean, just the way he moves and jumps around, and Dark Souls 1 is like I would say that it's a relatively slower paced game. And then he is like really that first experience of a boss that just like moves almost faster than the game lets you move.
Yeah. If a boss moves faster than you, that's whenever it's hard. Like,
Yeah.
the first time I fought a Sif, which now Sif's not really that hard of a boss, but it threw me off because the dog is fucking like 4 times the size of you.
Jump
And
all
jumps
the way
all-
across the damn arena.
they're
Yeah.
like fucking things all over the place.
Yeah.
And not to mention, whenever you get Sif down to like a quarter health, she just starts limping at you, and I'm just like,
Oh,
fuck.
And see, that's another fight that's good. But then once you learn the lore, it
It's
becomes
so much better.
it becomes that much deeper. Yeah, man.
Especially if you do the DLC where you time travel. And you
Yeah,
go
and
back
you
and
get
you
the
save
cutscene.
the dog.
Yeah.
And then whenever you come back to the future, the dog remembers you.
Yep, the dog
just-
doesn't want to hurt you. Oh, yeah.
It's so
It's
gut
rough.
wrenching.
It's rough, but that, I mean, to me, that's just totally the sign of a great game.
And our friend Hunter, he does not look into the lore at all. So he's just like, yeah, I'll fucking kill a dog, no problem. I told him the lore, and he's like, now I feel bad. Why'd you do that? Like, we'll fight a boss, and he doesn't give a shit about, like, what the story is. He's the type of person who'll just spam X through the dialogue,
Yeah.
not even listen. And I'm like, I think Dark Souls 1, it's the most open-ended, but it tells you where to go the most, because there's a lot of characters that are like, oh, now go do this. You know, like, go kill the 4 lords and all that. And Dark Souls is the pinnacle of pace, also. Like, the pacing in that game is perfect. Like, there's, like, the second it starts to get dull, you're back in a boss fight. And you're back doing some important shit.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, like I was saying about Artorias, I started that fight and I thought it was super cool just from the first fight. And I got into that lore and I was like, oh my God. Like, and then I just went and started a whole nother character, went through it on my own, got to Artorias, beat him, repeated it like 15 times. I just kept on fighting him again and again and again and grinding, and I loved it so much. But I mean, because yeah, you definitely have a point about like bosses being perfectly spaced out. Because just when you start getting frustrated with an area and start to get annoyed and like, you know, you're dying to a bunch of enemies or stuff, or you're just tired of running around. It's like just when you get to that point, another fog wall, another boss room.
And then you're like, yeah, and then,
Yep.
I mean, the second you see a fog wall, you know, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
But then you're also like, what is on the other side?
Especially the first time, because usually the first time, on your first playthrough,
You don't
when
know what's on
find
the other
it-
side.
Yeah, and when you find it, you've already been like busted up going through the area. You go into the boss fight handicapped with like half your Estus left, and yep.
It's awesome. And the thing I love about Dark Souls 1 more than any others is you have to work to get fast travel. And the reason that is so awesome is like, say like, for instance, Blight Town. You have to fight all the way to the bottom of Blight Town, kill the boss, ring the second bell, and then you gotta fight all the way back up. You can't just fast travel back to the home base, level up, and go on your way to the next thing. You gotta fight to get back.
I think the reason that delayed travel like appeals to me the most is like it really opens like really opens a door for the importance of shortcuts. Like, because that was something where shortcuts are pretty common in the other games as well.
They're not as
But
important.
yeah, they're not. I mean, you get a shortcut and you only use it like once or twice in the game. like in Dark Souls 3 specifically, like you get a shortcut and then you only use it as many times as you die to the area's boss.
Yeah.
But in Dark Souls, where you just end up using the same shortcuts over and over again, because before you have travel, that's the only way to get around.
And like even whenever you do have travel, you can only travel to a select few bonfires. There's only, but in the other games you can travel to any checkpoint you want. It doesn't matter, and like right off the gate. But like Dark Souls 1, the reason since there's no fast travel, I honestly think you could put me anywhere in that world at random, and I'd be able to find my way back to Firelink.
Yeah.
Just because I've walked it so many times.
Yeah, it's another skill curve, you know. Skill curves, I think they're usually, if there's big skill curves, I think it's a good sign, because it means you can keep working to get better and better and better. And that's definitely one of them. That's probably my weakest part, because like I was just saying, I completely forgot how to get through Dark Souls recently. So
yeah.
But it's one of those things where, you know, it makes you want to start a new character 6 times just so you can figure out the path you want to go to, and then start a character to actually go through the game with.
Like, I've seen people have plus 10 weapons before they even fight the first boss, because they can use the master key to get around the world, and like then they can just go one shot a boss.
Just the fact that you can do that is just incredible.
Like, it's extremely difficult to do that, because you'll have to go fight some enemies that are way out of your skill, or way out of your range right now that you're going to do damage to, but then you can work your way to it and then just go back and totally annihilate the first boss. So, like, honestly, I think the reason I love the game so much is just the open-ended nature of it. Like, you don't have to do something twice.
Yeah.
Other games try to do that, and they fail.
Yep. I'd agree with that.
Like, for me, like, I love Skyrim, but I feel like the very start of the game pretty much always feels the same. Like, you can go to, what is it that one first dungeon where the spiders guarding, like, the Dragonstone tablet or something? I don't fucking...
Oh,
Bleak Falls Barrow.
Bleak Falls Barrow, yeah.
You can go do that before going to Whiterun, but that, like, there's a few things, and, like, you can tackle quests in certain orders, but none of them have the certain appeal that like Dark Souls has, where you're like taking on a game in a different order.
See, the difference is, I think that with Skyrim, the thing that like really promoted its like, I guess, lifespan for me, like what made me play it so much was mods. Yeah, and I've never felt the need to use anything outside of the actual game.
Now, talking about mods real quick on Dark Souls, I've been doing like Dark Souls on PC right now, and they have these things called enemy randomizers, and it'll just like put in place of like other enemies. You could run into like fucking like Gwyn in like the very first area, because it just completely randomizes what boss you'll fight, what like the enemies will be. I fucking watched a guy, he beat the whole game, and all the enemies were Gwyn. It was ridiculous. It took him 16 hours to get out of the tutorial. Because he had to defeat Gwyn, he had to parry him 162 times perfectly.
Oh my god. Oh, I couldn't do it. I'm ass at parrying.
Then, once he got to the Firelink where he could level up, there's a cliffside, and he just baited all the Gwyns to jump off to their deaths, and he leveled up to level 120.
Oh my god.
And he said it was so much easier. The hardest part of that, the most painful part of watching that guy play it through like that was just the tutorial, because you couldn't level up, and there's just a shit ton all compacted into one building.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's crazy all the challenges people do,
god,
too.
yeah, because all the hollows, or is that what you're talking about with the Baldur Knights?
Yeah, all of them were replaced with Gwyn.
God.
He said, like, once you got to the boss fight, not a problem. He's like, I know how to... He's like, I will never have problems with Gwyn ever again. Because he's fought him like 2,000 times.
Oh my god.
I was like, holy shit. Oh, man, I could not imagine... Like, whenever you go up to, like, the gargoyles and there's, like, all those little dudes that jump at you, they're all Gwyn.
All the hollows.
Oh, man.
Yeah. No, I love the game, dude.
I thought we could finish out with our top 5 bosses of Dark Souls 1.
You didn't give me a heads up about this.
I know, because if you do it off the top of your head, it's what you really mean. Because it's the ones that come straight to mind. So... I think I'm going to go backwards, because if I try to think of 5, I'm going to forget one. So I know my absolute favorite in this game is Artorias.
All right.
There's no other boss in this game that has so much lore and
Yep.
like so much gameplay that is just so fucking good. Then number 2, ONS. Ornstein and Smough is like one of the perfect difficulties, and like it's their only gank boss where it's like 2 bosses or more that they've done perfectly.
Yep.
The Gargoyles is a nice precursor to that, but nothing beats ONS. Those bosses right there are just absolute perfection. Then number 3, I'd probably have to say Four Kings, just because of the arena. The arena is just so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
just I like a DPS test. Like whenever you beat it, I really feel accomplished because you're like, I just did that fucking amount of damage. Then number 4, I'd probably have to say Manus, because he is probably he's like one of the fastest bosses in the game.
Oh yeah. Like we
Any
were
of
talking
his-
about how Artorias was fast, but Manus is like
He's like 3 times the size of you.
it's like Artorias on cocaine.
He's
Yeah.
3 times the size of you, and any of his hits could like one-shot you. It's
Yeah.
like fucking ridiculous, but not in a bad way. It's just, fuck man, like that boss fight. Thinking about it, just the lore behind it too. And then number 5 would probably have to be Gwyn. The music in that arena,
Yep.
and just, it's you versus the first Link or the Flame, and it's up to you, whatever you want to do after that. So
Yep.
that one's awesome.
All right, I'll go in the same order he did because that's a pretty good point. I'm gonna have to agree with his number 1. Artorias is probably the only boss in all of the Soul series that I think I could spend an entire day fighting and not hate myself after. So Artorias gotta be number 1. See, I think I'm actually gonna disagree with you. I think my number 2 is gonna be Gwyn.
Gwyn's fucking good.
I think my number 2 is gonna be Gwyn, and I don't think he's like right up there with Artorias. I think there's a decent gap between the two.
Artorias is very far ahead
Yeah.
for me. Like he will always be like, it's not like my 4 that were before him could probably switch up sometimes, but I think Artorias is just so far ahead of the pack.
See, I just love like the whole idea of fighting Gwyn. I mean, the fight itself, it's good. It's not the best gameplay, but
If you know how to parry,
yeah,
it's fucking easy.
yeah. But
I don't know how to parry, so.
Yeah. The lore behind it, man, like fighting him after he's already relinked the flame, so you know that you're not fighting like the real Lord Gwyn and all of his power.
Well, that goes back to Artorias. He's fighting with a broken arm, and he's
exactly.
using his offhand with his big fucking sword.
without his shield that he's usually carrying.
And it terrifies me to think of like what he would have been like to fight
Yeah.
if he was at his
Well,
full
exactly.
strength.
I think that's why Gwyn's so high up for me too, because like I think that like knowledge of holy shit, like I'm really lucky I'm not fighting him in his prime. I think that definitely pushes a boss forward for me. Number 3.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It was very hard. I had a clear idea.
I'm
'cause,
gonna have to go with ONS. I loved ONS too. I actually didn't struggle with them all that much, but in all fairness, before I fought them, I looked into like what you should do to fight them. So
You always want to run away.
Yeah.
Get Ornstein to do
Exactly.
the charge attack and then fucking punish him
exactly.
while
So
Smough's running at you. That's the way to do it.
they're definitely up there. I'm actually gonna put one on the list that you didn't. I enjoyed Calamite.
Calamete's good too.
I really enjoyed Calamite. And I started out hating it. So keep that in mind. But whenever I was putting my summon sign down over and over and over and over again right in front of Artorias, every once in a while I would get summoned by somebody who was going to fight Calamite. And they were going to take the lift down. So every once in a while that would happen. And the first time I fought Calamite, I hated it. Second time, hated it a little less. And over time, I really started to enjoy that fight. And not to mention, I'm a sucker for anything dragon. So, of course, there's that. But I will put Calamite up there.
Some people put him as like the hardest boss in Dark Souls 1. And
I don't
I don't
agree.
think he's the hardest.
Manus is going to be my number 5. And I would say Manus is the hardest of any boss in Dark Souls 1.
Now we just gotta know what your number 4 is.
Did I said number 4.
Oh, you did? Wait, was
Yeah,
that Cal?
it
That
was-
was Calamity.
Yeah,
fuck.
Artorias, Gwyn, ONS, Calamite, Manus.
And the fact that 3 out of the 4 DLC bosses are in the top 5 really
Yeah.
shows you how good that fucking DLC
that
is.
DLC was so good.
For
Yeah.
Dark Souls 3, which I won't get into it, I only think like 1 DLC boss makes it into my top 5. And it's pretty... No,
Yeah.
I would say 2.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I
I'll
would-
have to think about it.
I would say 2 probably.
Yeah, but we'll get
no,
into
yeah.
that whenever we get to the Dark Souls 3 episode.
Yeah.
But you could probably get... If you play Dark Souls 3 DLCs, you could guess which bosses would make it in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
So,
I would definitely give Dark Souls 1 a yay.
oh, yeah.
Go
Yay all the
If
way.
you haven't played it, don't be scared. Some people hype it up as a lot harder than it is. It's difficult, but it's easy to learn, hard to master is what I would say.
Dark Souls is one of the few games that I actually feel like I've done something productive when I end. Because I know that I'm getting better at it. Like I can see the progress in my own gameplay. And that I don't know if that's just weird of me, but
No, I noticed it. Like, you cut down the tries in a boss from like 4 to 2.
Exactly.
2 to, you can just get it on one go and all that, and just trying out new things.
And that's a big thing for me. So it's definitely a yay for me.
It's very rewarding to play.
Yep.
And just the amount of ways you can play Dark Souls 1 is just, I warn you, if you get into it, you'll never get out of it.
No,
You'll
won't.
always replay it.
I'll probably be playing this game over and over for.
We were
I
playing
don't
Dark
think
Souls
I'll
before we started recording this.
Yeah, we were.
We're always. I'm always on like a Souls mentality of like, I want to play Souls again.
Oh yeah.
Every year, every like half year sometimes too. So, well, thank you all for listening. It's been nice. Hopefully, Dark Souls 3 comes out pretty soon. So yeah, we'll see you next week.
Try Dark Souls.
Try it.
Just do it.
We give it a yay.
It's a yay.
It is a yay.
It's a yay from us.
Okay, bye.